All right.
It could be a meme.
Thank you, everyone. Today's March 28th, 2023, and I'll call this city council meeting to order. Tracy, can I have roll call, please?
Bermal.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
Siddig.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Wason.
Here. All right, before I move on to item 3, there's a couple of new faces in the audience here tonight. We have city business that we need to get to. It'll take us about 15 minutes, so feel free to look down, check social media, whatever you need to. We'll get to you on item number 10. For those of you that have an agenda in front of you, great. You can go to our website, download the agenda. You'll see where we are running through there. All right, item 3 is approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion for that, please?
So move.
Second. Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, apologize. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 4 is our consent agenda. Is there anything on there that you want to pull off and talk about separately? Could I get a motion, please?
So move. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is public comment time. This is reserved for time for someone to bring something to our council that's not already on the agenda tonight. So if you are in the audience that's not already on the agenda tonight, now is your time to come forward. A brave soul. Going once, going twice, I'll close the public comment. Item 6 is our report from our city engineer, Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. All right, I've got a few updates on projects. We'll start with the Heritage Stream Bank Erosion Project. I did a walkthrough this morning, and the contractor's done with everything except the seeding, and it looks really good. It looks really nice. Michael Pentecost said that a couple of the neighbors came out and they thanked the contractor and said how much better the place looks, but it's going to be a nice improvement for that neighborhood. City Hall project, last week they poured the second floor slab, and they have not been able to start on the underground stormwater detention pond system yet because it's been too wet for them to work. And now they're talking about possibly switching over, and instead of starting with that, then instead start with the sanitary sewer and water main connections. They're under Main Street, so there will be a closure on Main Street if they do proceed with that. I've talked to the contractor. We're going to have a pre-install meeting before that because there's a certain number of days, 7-day notice they need to give the city to get the word out, and we'll find out next week what their game plan is on that. What else? The library project, they have mobilized to the site now, and they started the demolition work today. I stopped by late this morning, and things were going pretty well. That's exactly where they had it on their schedule a month ago, so we are good to see that. Actually, they came yesterday, and we weren't quite ready for them, so they were happy to come back today and start. The Ranshaw Paved Shoulders project, public hearings tonight, and then bids are due on April 4th for your consideration at the first April council meeting. And the construction substantial completion date on that project is June 30th. And 2 more projects, the Penn Meadows Park North Parking project. We are working on the 50% complete plan submittal, and that is planned to be completed by this Friday and then sent to city staff right away. And then we have a staff review meeting scheduled for next week. And construction on that project is tentatively planned to begin sometime in July of this year. And then lastly, the West Penn Street reconstruction project. We had our kickoff meeting last week on that project, and we'll have our first submittal May 5th, hopefully, to identify all the needed easements and or acquisitions for that project. And construction on that one's planned to start in 2024. So that's all I have, unless you have questions.
Do you guys have any questions for Kevin? Okay. Thank you. Our city administrator reports, item number 7, Ryan.
Thanks, Mayor. A couple things on my end. First, a quick update on Centennial Park, our next stage project. You're all aware that Destination Iowa did not fund our project, unfortunately. So our team's regrouping and going to be meeting with the engineers on the project to look for practical ways to phase this project. In addition, we continue to be in search of grants. Jillian and Nick and their team are working to look for naming opportunities or companies, businesses willing to give up some big money for naming opportunities on some of the buildings out there. And then lastly, on Friday, regarding this project, on Friday, we had a meeting with some community stakeholders to try to start to energize the community, educate and energize the community about the project. We have 3 more planned for later in April. And along with this, we're starting the capital campaign outside of the naming and marketing opportunities for $1 million. And so we're hoping to raise within the community $1 million. We think that's pretty feasible given that the rec center and library over the course of the past 30 years have had 3 separate campaigns and have raised close to $1 million each time. So hopefully it'll be more. That's certainly not a cap. That's a minimum, but that's what we're shooting for. You'll see a press release on that tomorrow. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was that at our April 11th meeting, we'll have a group attend to present information on UTV and ATV use within the city. You might recall last year, the state legislature passed some rules that now expand the potential use of those vehicles in the county and in cities. Cities still have ultimate control over when and how they operate. At this point, North Liberty does not allow them to operate in the city. This group would like to gauge the interest. The group that's going to be before you would like to gauge your interest on changing those laws. So more to come on that. Wanted to give you a heads up that they'll be here on the 11th. That's what I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Ryan? All right. I have a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to thank Brian Wason for covering not just one meeting, but 2 meetings for me so I could be with family for those. So I really appreciate you. Watching the meetings is kind of nice to do it behind the computer screen, not have to pound the gavel. So thank you again. Hope to not have to do that to you too many times in the future. I have 2 proclamations to read tonight. That's the remainder of my report. Our first one is Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2023. Whereas children are vital to North Liberty's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, and whereas all children deserve to have the safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities they need to foster healthy growth and development, and whereas Iowa is leading research efforts to better understand the negative long-term outcomes of child abuse and neglect among adults through the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, ACEs, which shows that poor physical health, mental health, and financial health in adulthood is attributed to adverse experiences in childhood, including abuse and neglect. And whereas research shows that the presence of just one caring relationship in a child's life builds resilience and mitigates negative outcomes, especially in a child with a high ACEs score. And whereas child abuse and neglect are a community responsibility and can be reduced by making sure each family has the support it needs to raise children in a healthy environment, and whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among the courts, social service agencies, schools, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. And whereas effective youth-serving programs like those offered by the North Liberty City Slate, North Liberty Library, North Liberty Recreation Department, and our social service block grant recipients offer positive alternatives for young people and encourage youth to develop strong ties to their community. And whereas the North Liberty Mayor and City Council members recognize the need for community awareness of local child abuse prevention efforts and healthy parenting, education, and support from organizations like Johnson County Community Partnerships for Protecting Children and Prevent Child Abuse, and encourage families to attend the North Liberty Kites for Kids Festival on Saturday, April 22nd from noon until 2 in the Liberty High School parking lot. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the City Council of North Liberty, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in North Liberty and call upon citizens, community agencies, medical facilities, and businesses to increase efforts to prevent child abuse, thereby strengthening the community in which we live. And I don't think we have anybody here to receive this, correct, Tracy?
I don't think so.
And secondly, a proclamation for Trans Visibility, Day of Visibility. Whereas we recognize visibility matters, as does the resilience, strength, and joy of transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people, especially our youth, who are integral to building a stronger, more prosperous, more inclusive North Liberty community. And whereas North Liberty's success depends on ensuring that all persons feel safe, welcome, and celebrated here, and whereas we acknowledge the adversity, discrimination, and restricted access to a gender-affirming care and services that the transgender community continues to face across our nation and around the world, and we honor the activism and determination that has fueled the fight for transgender equality. And whereas regardless of their gender and/or orientation, all North Libertarians are worthy of a sense of community through positive interactions and equitable access that promotes an atmosphere of being seen. Whereas many North Liberty residents and business owners, local elected officials, and city employees continually and intentionally work to build a gender-expansive community where every resident who identifies as transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming has the opportunity to live their authentic truth. And whereas the City of North Liberty aspires to be a bridge connecting the diverse LGBTQIA+ community with existing residents so that common ground and shared existence can be realized. And whereas on Trans Day of Visibility, we honor transgender people who are fighting for freedom, equality, dignity, respect. And whereas we also celebrate the parents, teachers, coaches, doctors, and other allies who affirm the identities of transgender children and help those youth reach their potential. Whereas we honor the spirit of unity which brings people together and are committed to ensuring that transgender people, especially transgender youth, enjoy the freedom and equality that are promised to everyone across North Liberty, the greater Johnson County area, the state of Iowa, and the nation. And whereas we encourage our residents to join this movement by supporting and joining communities nationwide to participate in local, regional, and national events that demonstrate a commitment to our core community values by taking action in the spirit of visibility on this day and every day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Hoffman, Mayor of North Liberty, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2023, as Trans Day of Visibility in the City of North Liberty. And again, there's not anyone here to receive this, Tracy, correct?
We weren't sure if there was going to be someone. I don't know. If there is someone here, please come up. Feel free to come up to the microphone.
All right. All right, thank you. Item 9 is council reports. Anyone been up to anything the last couple of weeks to let us know about?
Not yet, but I was going to mention, thank you for that proclamation. Trans Day of Visibility, there's an event in Iowa City on Friday night. There's a gathering at 6 on the Pentecrest starting there, and then a walk to the Wesley Center for some other events. So I will be there. I encourage anyone who's interested to attend. And also, in wearing my professional hat, I attended the grand opening of the South District Market in Iowa City today. And that was a really interesting project that it's kind of a mini Nubo market. And it's really something that I could see being well received here. And I hope if there's any developers out there listening, I would love to see a project like that proposed.
Sorry. That's great. Thanks, Eric. Anyone else?
I attended to Ryan's note, the Building North Liberty's Next Stage event, and I encourage everyone to go on the website. There's some phenomenal literature about Centennial Park and some of the really cool things that we have planned, and some renderings for individuals to check out. And then this weekend we've got part of the city slate. It's called Follow the Bunny Trails on April 1st. So hopefully everyone that has little ones comes out.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Item 10 is our facility naming policy. And for those in the audience, this needs to happen before item 11 can happen. And because of your efforts, item 10 is a thing that our city staff has been working on since you were last here in November. So they've done quite a bit of research and penned this document that we are calling resolution number 2023-25. And this is a resolution approving the policy for naming of city facilities. Could I get a motion for consideration, please?
So moved. I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Now, Ryan, I'm going to turn this back to you to help get some context.
Sure, thanks. So what we did in an attempt not to reinvent the wheels, we of course reached out to some other cities to see what their policies look like. We actually named a few things previously without a policy in place. And so what you're seeing here actually reflects a lot of what we've done previously. For example, you might recall when we first bought Centennial Park, as Nick will remind you, it wasn't Centennial Park, it was the West Side Park. We had a committee, we actually took nominations from the community and then had a committee select a name among all the nominations that we got. And then a similar process was done for Ranchaw Way, formerly known as, I guess still known as Highway 965, but don't tell Nick that also. And then I anticipate that if we acquire what we're now calling the North Side Park, we'll want to do something similar. So this facility really would address any and all naming and this policy would address any and all naming and renaming of city facilities. What it wouldn't be applicable to in most cases are street names. A renaming of a street name, yes, but a new street is generally on a plat and the developers decide that. So we have in front of you what we think is a policy that sets up some guidelines and some guardrails, if you will, for the city council, but also allows the group sitting around this table some flexibility moving forward when it comes to naming of city facilities. So I'd leave it at that and open it up for any questions if there are any.
You guys had some good questions over the weekend for Ryan. Does anybody have any follow-up, anything else that they want to pepper him with? Yes, sir?
Yep, I've been looking at this all day long, and there's a couple things that I think probably I would prefer we tweak just a little bit. The first of them being on page 3, where it says the names of companies whose business is substantially derived from the sale of things. So I would suggest that we just leave the names of company whose business is substantially derived from services or products or practices considered, unsuitable. And then just leave out the specific things in case, I can't see where many things would fall on that, but I could think of one thing that probably would be probably okay from a different company. That would be one suggestion I would make.
And while you're on that, we thank you for the heads up on this, by the way, Brian. So what we would propose then in that case would be names of companies whose businesses is substantially derived from the sale of products or related to practices considered unsuitable or inappropriate, eliminating the terms alcohol, tobacco, firearms, pornography, and or other.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. I think I put services instead of practices, but that sounds cool.
Would you say that again, Ryan?
The whole thing? Or I can, yes.
Just what the proposal is, yeah.
The proposal is to delete alcohol, tobacco, firearms, pornography, and or other.
Right.
And add products or related
to
practices considered unsuitable or inappropriate.
Okay.
I guess my only question with that is, giving those particular examples, doesn't it provide further context than just being broad?
Might defer to.
My thought was we don't want to box ourselves into, I think there's probably a few things that we would consider that would probably be appropriate.
Such as?
Well, I think of if a local brewery who does a lot in the community. So I just want to make sure we didn't box ourselves into a corner there.
Couldn't we skirt around that if the majority of their funds are not from alcohol and most of it's from food? Couldn't we kind of skirt around that?
I don't think a lot of their stuff is from food.
Yeah, in that particular instance, I can tell you it's not. It's mainly beer.
No, I don't have any idea
Yeah.
that that's anything.
Yeah, me neither.
But I just was like, there are some people who may want to do something that are could conceivably fall into that. So
And you had another recommendation?
Yeah, and then on the process for renaming a city facility or area. So when you look above it, the council in and of itself can just decide they want to name something. But then down here, there's no process for the city to do that. So my suggestion would be the process for naming a city facility or area, request to rename a city facility initiated by the residents, business owners, property owners, or staff, follow the procedure as outlined below. And you just take, and then you don't have to worry about the council, because there was no mechanism for the council to initiate that.
Are you following?
No.
So,
I'm looking at the screen.
process for naming a city facility, go one section up.
Yes,
And
and
the city council may do these actions in naming the facility on its own motion.
number 4, yes, right?
Right.
And
So,
then,
but then if you go to the next section, then there's no request for the city staff or council to do that, or a mechanism for that to happen if we're going to have an.
I
oh,
see
for
what you're saying,
renaming.
renaming.
Okay, so the difference between naming and renaming, there's
If there's
no,
going to be a,
Make it consistent
Yeah,
between
so-
both of them.
so that way then it wouldn't, you wouldn't have to have the council then wouldn't have to have a agreement with the city administrator.
got it, of course. So your proposal is to have that,
Just where it says-
the council can, on its own motion, also seek to rename a facility.
Right, so if you just request to rename it from the staff, public, property, and who the other one was, business, goes through that procedure through the city administrator.
And we can make that change easy enough if the group agrees.
So do we need to run these as separate amendments to this resolution?
You could have a motion to amend this resolution, right? And then you would have a second motion to approve, so.
For both of them?
First to amend, and then to approve as amended, so.
Yep,
For all
but I can put
changes.
both of them in the same
Changes.
change?
Yes,
Same amendment?
so this motion might be to incorporate Counselor Wason's two suggested
Okay.
changes,
Okay,
for example, right?
yep, all right. Eric, anything else?
The one thing that I raised that I want to maybe bring back up is kind of specifying what special treatment a donor might get, because a lot of times a donor is going to give money, their name's going to be on the wall, they're going to get free tickets to the event or something like that, right? I just want to make sure that we're not limiting what we can do in those instances.
And we included in the email that I sent to you folks, we do have a proposal ready for that if it's amenable to the group. And beg your pardon, I'm looking for that now.
In the second paragraph, under conditional naming rights limitations,
Page 3.
the inclusion of or other enumerated benefits is the operative change at the end, after event materials.
Okay.
Was the proposal in the email that the city administrator circulated earlier today.
And just to be clear, what Counselor Sittig is asking about and knows about, because he's a head volunteer for Blues and Barbecue, is oftentimes when we get sponsorships for the stage or for the inflatables or whatever it might be, those sponsors then may get food tickets or beer tickets or something for their employees. And so by adding the term or other enumerated benefits as part of the event, we think we're covered there.
Does that sound okay, Eric?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Because that would be in a separate
It
agreement.
would be, yes.
So-
A memorandum of understanding is
Yeah.
what they have now, yeah.
So does that need to be lumped in with the amendment?
Well, no one is, you surely could make an make a motion to amend the resolution to incorporate both Counselor Wason's and Counselor Sittig's suggestions.
Are there any other edits or modifications that you'd make to it? Brent, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. So the resolution needs an amendment, and that amendment will incorporate the suggestions that Counselor Wason has made, as well as Counselor Sittig. So could I have a motion on those, please?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Can we, any other discussion about those? Tracy, can we have roll call on the amendment, please?
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Motion carries. And now back to the resolution. Are there any other questions? All right, Tracy, roll call on the resolution, please.
I just really
Oh,
want to
sorry,
thank
Eric.
staff because I think this is, I mean, it took some work to do this, so thank you for your work.
More robust than I anticipated, so.
And I appreciate having the guidance, just, I mean, having this discussion and having guidance about what we're willing to do and how, so.
Very true. Okay, Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We'll have the final copy then, the final edited copy in your next packet for,
Okay.
just for
Just
reference.
to see for reference, okay. All right. Item number 11 now is the Big O Foundation on our agenda. We have a lot of folks here in the audience, and I think maybe you already know this in advance, but the foundation has identified 6 people to speak on behalf of everyone that's here. They were here in front of us mostly in November, and we're going to hear that similar message from them. At the end of it, I'm also going to ask if anyone else has any comments, and it's not intended for anybody in the audience to get up to repeat what they've said. It's really an opportunity for other points or discussions to be made about this topic tonight. I know that 6 of you have been selected to speak on behalf of this group tonight. There's a time limit that I don't think you'll exceed of 3 minutes, with the exception of our last speaker, and we're going to give them some latitude to speak. With that, I'm going to start with you all. This is a public time of comment, and you're representing this audience out there. This meeting from that point is going to be different than what our work session was back in November, when there was an exchange of conversation between those that were here in the audience that night and our council. Tonight's meeting will then end in that discussion, and it's going to get turned over to this council to have a discussion on how they would like to proceed. My goal at the end of the night is for everyone in this room to know how we're going to proceed and to give direction to staff in that case as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the 6 of you.
All right, my name is Amy Bartachik, and I'm one of the Big O Foundation board members. I want to thank, first of all, Mayor Hoffman and the entire City Council for giving us the opportunity to present this evening, and thank you to all of you in attendance. You all got a lesson on City Council tonight, so the teachers are happy. On March 3rd, 2002, Owen Skelly ended his life after a 2-year battle with mental illness. He battled silently, never wanting to burden his family and friends with his struggles. Owen's death devastated so many, but one of many positives from this tragedy is that it brought our community together, and it initiated conversations about mental health. Friends, family, and the Big O Foundation have made it their mission and our mission to support the education of others about mental health and suicide. The mission of the Big O Foundation is to serve and support children, teenagers, and their families that are facing mental health challenges. We share Owen's story and resources to spread mental health awareness, promote education, and support the welfare of local youth. I want to stress that mental health awareness is not just a Liberty High School issue. It's a community issue. The foundation serves all surrounding communities and organizations statewide. The impact the foundation has left on the community includes funding the You Matter project at Liberty High School, Drake University, and Iowa Valley High School, mental health lanyards for the City of North Liberty, financial support of the UIHC Pediatric Behavioral Health Unit, the Mark Wick citywide speaking event, QPR Institute Suicide Prevention Training, funding for the Hope Walk in Cedar Rapids, Strike Out the Stigma baseball event, a total of 4 monetary awards and scholarships to Liberty High School students, parent-to-child conversations at home, funding counseling services for families in financial need, and countless conversations the Skellys have had in private with youth and their families who are struggling. The Big O Foundation would like to propose that the Penn Meadows Babe Ruth baseball field be renamed the Owen Skelly Field. In partnership with the City of North Liberty, local organizations, and businesses, the foundation will use the venue as a vehicle to tell Owen's story, host mental health-focused events, promote awareness and conversations, create a sense of belonging and inclusivity. We will also provide mental health education and resources to youth and their families. Stress the importance of physical activity related to mental health and live out the foundation mission. Also, by displaying mental health resources on and around the field, our hope is that it will encourage people to use those resources. Our intent is not a memorial for Owen. It's to live out the foundation mission and to help families. The signage around the field will be funded by the Big O Foundation and made by Alpha Graphics in North Liberty. Some ideas include large 988 hotline signs in the outfield, the Big O Foundation and I'm Glad You Stayed project QR codes in the dugouts, near the stands, concession, and if approved by the City of North Liberty, in bathroom stalls, on light poles, and any other equipment or structures around the field. Also, a monument to be determined later, but could include a mental health ribbon. The Big O Foundation and the Skelly family would like to offer financial assistance to fund future field projects and enhancements as recommended by the City of North Liberty and approved by our board. The city has done a great job revitalizing the Babe Ruth Field, and we would like to offer our continued support, and financial support for enhancements. We would enter a written agreement with the city to affirm our financial commitment with details to be determined later. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk today. My name is Reed Monarnock. I am a junior at Cedar Rapids Prairie. Baseball is a sport that is loved by millions of people around the world. Often on social media, seeing the interactions players have with fans can spread happiness around the world, right? What makes me happy about the sport is seeing the relationships between the players when they are doing the thing they love. I say this because baseball is what brought Owen Skelly and I together, the sport that we both love. Owen and I grew up playing each other on the diamonds, and although his team was better than mine, I would still hope that he was in the same tournament as me, hoping to get the revenge of winning a game against him. The time we had just through a game that had a ball, bat, and gloves built a relationship. Would you ever think those 3 simple things could bring 2 people together? Well, it did. It can, and it did. With all my heart, I hope this field can do the same for the community and kids that play on this field, just like a field brought Owen and I together. To have something like this in the city of North Liberty would be great for the community. People know and have felt the impact Owen had on this community, and this field will be something that continues to spread a positive impact through the sport he loved. I see this field as an opportunity to build relationships and bring people together, not just around a sport, but around mental health in Owen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reed.
Hello, and thank you for taking the time to hear what we have to say to the City Council today. My name is Tate Brunk, and I'm a senior at Liberty High School. Owen Skelly was and still is one of my best friends. When you think about a person who was athletically gifted, always has a smile on his face, and cared for his friends till the end of the world, Owen checked off every single one of those boxes. He was always the friend who would be there for anyone. Baseball is really what brought me and Owen together, where we really went from friends to brothers. Owen was one of the hardest working guys on the field and a leader of the team. He was someone many people looked up to and wanted to be like, including myself. Changing the name to the Owen Skelly Field lets Owen's name be remembered, keeps his legacy alive, and is a symbol of hope for the city. Seeing Owen's name on the field will keep awareness of mental health front and center and be a step in eliminating the stigma of mental health. I ask that you please consider the impact this could make on our community and anyone who visits our community and rename Penn Meadows Fields to the Owen Skelly Field. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tate.
Hi, I'm Ubi Martinez. I am the head baseball coach at Liberty High School. I just want to share with you just some of the impact that we see happening, and it is already happening currently. If it wasn't for Owen, we wouldn't have been able to help or reach students and adults who are currently getting the help they need. We look to celebrate Owen's spirit because it gives people hope, and hope in education is what represents our vehicle to spread awareness that people are wanting and needing. We recently were contacted by another corridor group, Strike Out the Stigma, about partnering with them to hold larger scale events to reach more youth and using this facility. On May 7th and 8th, 16 high school baseball and softball teams will be participating in a 2-day event to bring awareness to mental health put on by Strike Out the Stigma. We've been in talks about partnering to bring an event of the same magnitude to North Liberty centered around our Owen Skelly Classic 14U tournament being held on May 13th and 14th. This field has the potential to impact over 80 teams from our area just in this year alone. This is more than just a diamond. People see it, people see what they want to see, but we are asking that you share our vision and our mission and see all of the good in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ubi.
My name is Joe, and I'm Owen's dad. We all appreciate the time and consideration regarding this proposal. We are asking for a partnership with the city and to allow us to use the Babe Ruth Field as a venue to spread mental health awareness. We have the support from many in the community and willing to dedicate our time and resources to benefit others in need. We are not asking for the field to be given to us. We can elaborate endlessly on how working together on anything in life is far better than carrying goals and challenges alone. We all want what's best for our neighbors, friends, and family, etc. It was a short 13 months ago that Owen passed away. Big O Foundation Board was set up a few months later and has been working since to create a long-lasting and sustainable foundation that would supersede the current board members. Progress takes time, and in addition to our accomplishments, we have been prepared to fund more speakers and other ideas to benefit the community, but have faced some obstacles and red tape that we are sure to work through. We are just getting started and learning as we go. The achievements and accomplishments we have in life tend to be the hardest to conquer at times. We knew going into this that a unanimous vote would be tough, but our mission states we are doing this to benefit others, and tonight, hopeful for a successful outcome. Owen was not an individual who wanted attention or bragged about himself. From the outside, he was a very kind and humble young man. On the inside, he concealed his struggles for no one to see. I asked myself, what could I or what could we do to help bring out the truth? What could we do to make individuals more comfortable to be honest and ask for help? What could I have done, or what could we all do to be more approachable? Kindness to all, humble with our God-given gifts, and generous with our time and resources all stand out to me. I am a believer, and I spend a lot of time looking for signs Owen might be giving me. The signs we believe he would want us and everyone else to see are signs of hope and knowledge. Those signs need to be put right in front of us. Everything in life is moving so quick, and we become more reliant on a phone in our pocket rather than each other for support. This baseball field brings people together and will. Whether it's a game being played or people observing its beauty and signage passing by. We have learned a lot losing our son. I'm ashamed to say that prior to Owen's passing, I did not give any consideration or attention towards this illness. If a problem wasn't transparent and obvious to me, I passed it up. I owe Owen, and I'll spend the rest of my life attempting to repay him. I believe the way he once repaid would be to spread the word. I can feel him telling me, Dad, if I struggled with all the goodness I got going in my life, there are so many, many others that are in the same situation. Owen was known as a loyal friend and many other goodness characteristics on the list. But now, what's added to the list is mental health and suicide. That's extremely hard to admit from a father's standpoint. We are proposing using Owen's name as the vehicle and the field as the highway. What we could use is this venue to spread the hope and education on a topic nearly 25% of us struggle with. Signage and QR codes are additional tools we could sure use help with, and the baseball field would be a great strategic venue to have it on. Like many others, Owen loved the game and lived to play it. From those who live here locally to all those visiting from out of town, we can all relate to certain struggles in life. Driving or walking by the field, enjoying watching games from the stands, or competing, this field could play a major role in breaking the barrier to start conversation and work towards eliminating the stigma. Like many other issues and practices from our past, the stigma towards mental health is outdated. It's run its course and only should exist in history books, not to limit and hinder our ability to function in 2023 and beyond. The Big O Foundation, along with so many in the community, will take care of the legwork and promote education and awareness. We all share an inherent objective. We have to do something because doing nothing is not an option. With this field, we will be reaching so many more individuals who are in need and looking for a catalyst to strike up a conversation and remind everyone that we're not alone. When we work together, we will thrive and succeed. Please consider partnering with us and together impact and benefit others in need. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else? Okay. Are there any other comments from the public? All right. I will close that. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Just real shortly, my name's Michelle Schnicker, and I've lived in Johnson County about a year, and I've known this family, and I did send a letter asking for you to all please consider it, so I do thank you for your consideration more than you know. I facilitate grief classes. I've personally had a brother that's died by suicide, and anybody in this room, if your family has ever been affected, I feel for you, because that death is very hard to deal with, and I've had a number of people who've come to my grief classes, and it's just very hard to overcome. So by opening this field and drawing awareness to mental illness is definitely, as been mentioned, a stigma that we need to overcome, and it's far too long. And what a great venue that you have an opportunity to open that door and show all that openness, because mental health is also a good venue of being out in the fresh air. So we thank you for your consideration. God bless you.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else? Thanks, Brad.
Afternoon, Council. My name's Kyle Sherman. I own Diamond Dreams. I spoke to you guys a few times. I've got to know the Skillies for many years. I coached Boyd, got to know Owen. Baseball brought us together. Working with them to kind of set up the first tournament on May 13th and 14th. Also consideration as far as, using Diamond Dreams resources, the teams we have. We have 84 teams right now in our facility, non-Liberty teams at the moment, but having a place for those teams as well, and making awareness that we have a facility that they can use and learn. We have a lot of signage in our facility right now that we've got just by holding events, working with the OS Foundation, working with the Skelly family and so forth. So Diamond Dreams would be in full support of this. I would work directly with them to have the awareness in our facility and then bring that outside for us to use camps and have people from outside of the area use the facility as well. So I would definitely support this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kyle. Anyone else with comments is welcome, but if you're repeating what has already been said, I just ask you to let those that have already spoken speak for you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm now going to turn this over to our council. The foundation last night received an email that one of our council members had sent. It was intended to be shared last night with you, so you had an opportunity to hear it and to at least hear that message. It's not necessarily something that we may get into here tonight, but we felt it was important. The counselor asked if it would be okay to share, and I said it would be. I thought it would be better received last night than it would be tonight in an open meeting. With that, I'm going to turn this conversation over to our council for discussion, and if it's okay, I would like Counselor Smith to kick this off for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I wrote down thoughts that I wanted to share to be respectful of time, so I'll be reading from my notes to respect everyone's time. I want to start by thanking each and every one of you who are here tonight supporting the renaming of the field to Owen Skelly Field. So a few questions came to mind as I thought through the renaming topic. First, are there any current field names that bear significance? First, the current name, Babe Ruth, bears no historical significance to North Liberty. It was just called Babe Ruth and named after the league teams that played on that field. There's no official city name for that field. However, Babe Ruth League was instrumental and paved the way for what we know today as our community's largest rec league, with over 1,000 kids participating in baseball and softball as North Liberty Coralville Baseball Softball, or we all know as NLCBS. When you Google Penn Meadows baseball fields, here's what comes up, and that's the handout that I provided to council. Every field is named through a sponsorship agreement managed by NLCBS. I appreciate all these sponsors for making NLCBS a huge success every year. I wanted to show this to council to show that all these fields have sponsor names already. The most prominent name at the field is Shields Field, where you see a huge red and white Shields sign embedded in the outfield fence each and every time you drive down East Penn Street. NLCBS has been naming these fields with these agreements for years in a good partnership. But if you look at the field in the lower left-hand corner of that sheet, the field in question tonight sits with no name. Should also be noted that the most recent partnership with Babe Ruth Field was Liberty High School. When the school district approached the city about using the field for practice and game space for Liberty freshman baseball, discussions were had and a financial agreement was entered. The outfield fence project was paid for by the Iowa City Community School District and has been the home of Liberty High School freshman team for a few years now. Because of that partnership, Owen Skelly was able to practice and play on this field during his time with Liberty Baseball. According to his family and Liberty Baseball coaches, Owen loved being at this field with his teammates, practicing hard, bettering his game, and helping build the Liberty Baseball program. So you may ask, why does this matter to the Big O Foundation? Simply one word, impact. Taking a tragedy and doing all they can to assure this doesn't happen to another family. The Big O Foundation's mission has already had and will continue to have positive impact on our community in this new partnership with our city. I'm going to skip ahead because Amy did a wonderful job explaining all of the things that the Big O Foundation has already done in the year that they've been in existence. By creating a permanent marker in this town to reflect the message of this foundation, we are encouraging our parents, our kids, and those that visit this field to play to make mental health a priority discussion, to share the resources available to those who may be suffering in silence, as Owen did, and to help save a life. In my 4 years on this council, I have never seen this amount of feedback from our community on one topic. 75 people contacted us by email or letter in favor of renaming, including residents and non-residents, teachers, coaches, counselors, and students from North Central and Penn Elementary schools, Liberty City West and Clear Creek Amana High Schools, business owners in North Liberty, members from the University of Iowa healthcare team, Iowa football and NFL player Tyler Linderbaum, Iowa women's basketball and now Final Four coaches, Jan Jensen, Jenny Fitzgerald, Julie Fitzpatrick, and Lisa Bluter, the Honorable and retired Governor of the state of Iowa and past Ambassador to the United States, Terry Branstad, and also writing in were teammates, friends, and Owen's siblings, Stella and Boyd. Look at these people packed in this building tonight. And if, by the way, if you're in the hallway and we can't see you, we see you, and we hear you, and we appreciate you being here. These folks are all voicing support for this renaming and asking us as counselors to vote yes. Mayor, usually this chamber and our emails fill up with opposition types of things that are brought before us. We do get overwhelmed with letters or speakers that are not in favor of things, not in favor like this. Usually when the chambers are crowded, it's with folks concerned or angry that we have taken or not taken action. And this crowd here is overwhelmingly in support of this renaming. As a counselor, I want to align myself with and support people and organizations that take action, not just speak of action or complain of lack of action. And the Big O Foundation has taken action, made an impact, and I am proud to be a supporter of this renaming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone's next?
I'll go. I just want to start out by saying and reiterating what Councilor Smith just said. He has been very forefront with his support from the very beginning. And there were a number of us like, wait, what? Like renaming things, and we had several questions, me being one of them, because we know that Owen is not the first young person to take his life. He may not be the last. And there's many people in our community, in our close circles, that are suffering from mental health. And the stigma needs to be addressed. And what resonated to me after, taking some time after our last council meeting, when you guys first approached us, was going back and saying what stands out differently now. And I think the dad, when you spoke and just said that, you didn't pay attention to it, even if there were signs, and to hear that as a parent, you ignore things often. But to just see the support, not only from his school friends, his close family, the sports community, but from everyone, because it's impacted. And I can truly appreciate the fact that you guys not only came to approach the city to bring a larger awareness to our community, which is outstanding, and to be able to relive that story and tell that story about, from a parent's perspective, of how you missed the signs or you didn't pay attention as much, and just playing sports and just having that community, how sometimes that can be overshadowed. And so I applaud you all for the work that you all have done. You have made it easy. It's made it easier for me. I won't speak for the rest of them, but for myself to be able to support your efforts, and also realizing that the name will stick and it will have a greater significance than just a young boy who took his life. The underlying message is that mental health situations are there. They go unnoticed, but everyone is impacted some kind of way. And his name, his legacy is more than that, because he is more than a kid who suffered from mental health illness. He was a great friend. You all called him a brother. You all had a relationship with him, and he has left a great impact. To have this many young people, we never have had this many people in here, but to have young people in here to support such a cause lets me know that, this is very important, and you all have my support as well as a council member. And I really hope that, this message goes beyond just North Liberty, but it continues to spread throughout the United States, throughout the world, about, how a community can come together through a tragic event. We can come together and celebrate wins, but when it comes to things like this, we kind of shy away. So I definitely support and I applaud you all. And as a community, this is just great to see. So thank you all for bringing it to council and to be a partnership and not just asking for, us to hand something over, but making it something that'll last a lifetime. So thank you.
Thank you, Rakisha. Brian.
So, just kind of looking at this, going through the new policy that we've just passed prior to this. So, would the renaming of this enhance the quality of life and well-being of city residents? I think anything that's promoting, improvement in mental health would be a good idea. It contributes to the preservation of the city's history or culture. Well, I think part of our culture is, as we're a growing community, we want to be, the connected community, and I think that that's one way of doing that. The names or persons have had a significant positive or cultural societal impact. I think they've made a good start, and I think we keep moving forward from here. The appropriate community support, I think we got that one covered and stuff. So, so I had a concern because we got an email last night about maybe some youngsters talking about this, and would that cause younger folks to do things which were not necessarily a good idea. So I spent a great deal of time looking at that today, and then I reached out to two mental health professionals who deal with youngsters. So in one, I forwarded the email back from the counselor at Liberty High, and he was supportive of this as well. And then my personal child therapist, my daughter, said, no, it's okay. So I felt much better about that. So, but I do know I spend a great deal of time, at work at the hospital, and I deal with mental illness a lot. Okay? So I understand its importance, and I also recognize that you can't always see things that are going to happen. Okay? Even if you know what you're doing, paying attention to things, people do things, and that's just the way it is. So you cannot always predict what are people going to do, no matter even if you think you know what you're doing. Okay? So that's just the way it is sometimes. So I just want you to know that. So I would be pretty much in supportive of this as well. But I think the important thing to remember is renaming this baseball field after Owen Skelly does not do too much really to keep his memory alive. Okay? You guys and you guys and you guys and you guys have to do that to make it meaningful. Okay? So we can do our little part. You guys have to do your part. Okay. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Brian. Ashley, Eric?
Wow. I think that this is truly an example of what positive can come from a terrible situation. I mean, the opportunity that you all have created is astounding. And I'm proud to be from North Liberty, even more today, seeing what everyone has come here together to support. And as a mother, as a community member, as a leader, I think this truly gives me a lot of inspiration, a lot of meaning, and a lot of hope for our future. There's a lot of people in our community that are hurting right now. There's a lot of people in our world that are hurting right now. It's a scary place to be, unfortunately, in light of events that have happened this week. So I just encourage, all of us to take this opportunity to really have the conversation with our loved ones about not being okay and just truly how loved they are, and I think that you guys are doing that, and so for that, I support you. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Ashley.
I really appreciate everyone being here tonight. I'm the person who sent the email last night, and I just want to make clear that I have nothing but support for your mission. I want you to post signs. I want you to. I am happy to partner with you to do anything. I just what another person told me. I just couldn't get past that, honestly, about some conversations that he overheard. And so I just want to be clear that. I am not in favor of renaming. I want you to put signs up, like I said. I am happy with an annual agreement. It obviously doesn't matter because you've got 4 other people who are going to outweigh my vote. But I think the better way forward is to let you do your work and show us how much of an impact you're going to have. Because you're having an impact. I'm just not quite there yet. So I want you to do your work. Please do. And I look forward to seeing how it works out.
Thank you, Council. I said that we would like to make recommendations to staff so they can enter into an agreement. The proposal by the Big O Foundation is in our packet. Everyone is aware of it. Are there any changes or comments that you have and suggestions to give to city staff?
Mayor, if I can.
Please do.
Thank you. With this March marking 1 year since we lost our teammate, son, brother, friend, student, and community member, Owen Skelly, it's my honor to make a motion for the City of North Liberty to officially name Penn Meadows Field, currently known as Babe Ruth Field, to Owen Skelly Field. This motion will also serve as direction to city staff to work with the Big O Foundation to create, in writing, a final agreement and partnership to include, but not be limited to, the signage and messaging and future field upgrades.
I second.
Right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions, comments, edits? All right.
I'm concerned about the vagueness of all this, honestly. I don't know what, my understanding is that there's going to be more discussion with staff. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what we envision. You saw the proposal, obviously, in the packet. We will touch base with Amy and company and then bring a proposed agreement back to this group yet for a final approval.
So what the council does tonight is not the final naming, or is it?
I would argue that we need to have an agreement in place for it to be finalized.
Okay. And just to be clear, I mean, the field is available for use.
Yeah, through our rec center.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
You have to, it's kind of like getting signed up for swimming lessons, I think. You have to get there early for availability, but yeah, it is available to the public.
Any other questions? Tracy, can we take a little bit of a roll call on this, please?
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig,
Nay.
Harrington,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Your motion carries. All right, those of you in the front row here, you have to come back to see us some other time, okay? We're gonna, if you want to come back in a few meetings, we'll have this actually on the agenda, and there'll be an actual agreement put in place. So please join us again. Maybe it won't be so hot in here. I'm gonna.
Come anyway.
Yeah, and you can come anyway. Just come any meeting you want to. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. We do have further business to conduct here, so please join each other outside in the hallway where it's cooler. And thank you all. I'll re-adjourn, get this meeting back in order here. Item number 12 is our FY24 budget, and Ryan, I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll spare you the the history, you all know it, but we essentially had to restart with the revenue projections in the general fund based on a law that got signed February 20th. So what that did to our current the anticipated FY24 budget was reduce total revenues by about $325,000. Our team is proposing that we take a three-prong approach to make up the difference here. One prong of that is using reserves, approximately $90,000 in reserves. The other prong is to increase the tax rate by about 13 cents approximately, both in the general fund and in the debt service levy to be able to pay our debt load for the coming year. And then the final approach is to cut expenses. And our team went back to their budgets and found $105,000 to eliminate. And what you'll see there is there's not really one big item in there. There's a bunch of smaller incremental proposed cuts to get up to that $105,000. When you look at that, the two big things that I notice when we do this is, one, our ending fund balance still is at almost 28%, so that's good. Our policy reads between 25 and 30%. We've always had 30%, so we're dipping into that a little bit. We're hopeful at the end of FY23, perhaps, we'll have a surplus on the general fund budget that'll hopefully bump that back up. But again, that's not for certain. And then the other thing to look at is how will this impact property taxes. Interestingly, you'll see that even with the increase in tax rate, residential properties will pay less than what they would have if we had approved the budget 3 weeks ago with the revised numbers. So while it's an increase in the rate, when you look at the valuations, it's less, and so they're paying less than what it would have been previously. So I think I'll stop there. Well, I take that back. A couple more brief comments in terms of process. If the council is comfortable with this, we're prepared to publish notice and have the final public hearing and approval of the budget at the April 11th meeting. If there are changes you'd like to make tonight, we can still make that happen. Or if you want to spend additional time on it, we do have until April 30th for final approval. But what you have in front of you tonight is what our team is recommending as we move forward.
You guys have had a chance to study it, I know, over the weekend, and I assume that you've had some conversation with Ryan in the past month as well to get us here to this point tonight. But with that said, do you guys have any questions or suggestions other than what staff has presented here tonight?
I guess just one question. Where would we be if you said people are going to be paying less tax than they would have under the previous budget proposal? Where would we be if we were at the same place? I mean, it seems like we would not be making these changes, right?
Yeah, so I'd have to do some I didn't look at that. I'd have to do some reverse math. I could certainly look at that. I think the challenge is, Eric, is that while residential is paying less, commercial actually is also paying slightly less after that modification. To your original question, I just didn't do the math. Certainly could, but I didn't.
I was just curious.
Yeah, Brian.
So, just looking, I asked you the how much a penny was brought to the general fund.
Yeah.
So is there places to add pennies back in, or is any of those levies already maxed out?
No, we could certainly add levies in or increase the rate in a variety of different areas. And actually, one of the things, a conversation I would like to have with this group after the legislative session is a broader picture of, here's what the general fund revenues are, here's what they could be if, everything was maxed out, potentially. Just to give you an idea of what is available down the road, and also how the potential changes may impact valuations, our ability to tax, all those things are on the table right now at the State House.
So, a lot of things, operations, delaying your people starting at different times and stuff. But the only thing is, it's the capital thing was, the Lucas device for the fire department. And I know that they want to try and use maybe some foundation funds for that. But I think that, I think the fire department for public safety in the city, we need to actually fund those things. And that's not a nice thing. That's a thing. So we use that in the hospital all the time. So it's designed to save people's lives. It doesn't. So if the other one is old and they do wear out, I would actually be comfortable adding a penny back in and just buying that and get it done with.
Others' thoughts on that? Brian's got more experience, so does Brent, than anybody else up here does.
Yeah, he's exactly right. It frees up the hands of the paramedic. So instead of doing compressions all the way to the hospital, you're giving medications, you're managing the airway, and it's an FTE, if you think of it that way. It's another pair of hands in the ambulance. So it does the compressions for you, so you have another provider in the ambulance or on scene. And for here, for the most part, the ambulance is closer, being in Coralville. But I will tell you that ambulance is extremely busy now, to the point where they have now 2 ambulances running out of there just to relieve the pressure on one rig, because it's that busy. And so there are times when those rigs are not available, and our first responders here in town are going to be required, and have been required, to provide ACLS care to our loved ones and community members waiting for that ambulance to arrive.
I will share, we had a successful life save just a couple months ago at a local restaurant with this Lucas device. If you ever one-on-one with Brian, it's a fascinating story. So to your point, it gets used quite a bit, or quite a bit might be extreme, but it gets used for sure, and it's been effective. I think Brian is comfortable eliminating the cost from the general fund only because he knows he'll have other resources to reach out to. Now, that might limit them on something else that the foundation might want to do down the road, but it is there if you decide you don't want to do the penny.
Has there been a pledge from the foundation for a certain amount?
I can't answer that. He just has said he's been working with them, but he also had his eye on some other grant. I don't know what that is either, so.
Okay.
And the current device that we have is not, it still works.
It does.
Are we seeing any indication that it's going to stop working? I mean, do you know?
I think it's not as if it's been in the shop.
Right.
But I don't know enough about a Lucas device and how many pumps they'll do. He just noted that we don't want it to be in the shop or go down. So.
I guess my question is, what degree of certainty do we have as to whether or not that request would be fulfilled before we take it out?
Yeah, all but 100%. He's pretty confident.
He's pretty confident? Okay.
But then they would spend that money on that and then not on something else.
Gotcha.
So Ryan, where 90 coming out of reserves at 28%. What if that's 28% after the 90's removed?
Yes.
Okay. Would we drop below the goal of 25% by cash rolling this from reserves, the entire amount?
No.
So we would remain
The 105 or the 10?
The 105, the entire 105.
I don't know. You'll have to give me a second. I don't know what that does. but I'll look it up while others have questions, or if you have other questions. I'm a little skeptical, I'll say, of taking that much out of reserves just because we don't know what's going to happen down the road. We may need them in the future years just to operate.
Because of the legislation on.
Yes.
Okay.
Because of what could happen in the legislature. Sure. Thank you. This year, but also because of what some early predictions on the rollback next year. So it went from this year it stayed relatively neutral with when they corrected it. Yeah, it went from, well, no, it went from 56 last year to I beg your pardon.
Gone from 54 to
Yeah.
50.
Yeah, it basically stayed neutral, 54 to 54.65.
Yep.
Next year, they're talking about potentially 49. That's going to be significant. And that's with no law change. That's just a projection.
On top of talks of doing away with property tax?
And, yes, on top of what other ideas might be out there.
What if we just took $10,000 and added it onto the cash on hand or reserve of make that a $101,000 shift instead of $91,000 and increase the tax levy by a penny? Or I'm sorry, we don't have to do that. Just move 10,000 over there, Brent.
So 90 goes to 100.
91 goes to 101. Yep.
Okay, and then the levy increase stays
Stays the same. As staff has recommended on here.
But
Adding
the
$10,000 more to
from reserves.
from reserves, will it dip us below 25%?
Wouldn't, not even close. It probably wouldn't make much of a dent. Here's the other option. You know, the other thing we are confident we're going to get a Lucas device in FY24. We could either with through the foundation or through the grant. If we want to not pester the foundation with it, we could just leave things as is. We could, and we have two options. At the end of FY23, in June, we see where the budget is, and if he can squeeze, it's 10 grand. I think if he can squeeze it in, we do it. If not, we would look for other ways to get it in an FY24. Worst case scenario, we would come back and amend. We'd have to amend the budget later in the year, but I'm confident that at the end of FY23 we could probably find that 10,000.
Well, if he knows, I mean, if he's going to go back to chief and he's going to know it's a priority spend of council, so it'll be a priority for him.
Well, I think that works, saves paperwork.
Sure.
So the proposal still has a 13-cent levy increase.
From what? Yes. Does.
But the budget cut is instead of 105,000, it's 95,000.
No, we're just leaving that.
Leave
the
it in
same.
there the same. Okay.
We will find a way, whether it's at the end of this fiscal year or through a grant next year, to fund that.
Gotcha.
budget.
Okay. Everybody else okay with that?
It's hard to educate the community, to tell them and make them believe that we're raising your levy by 13 cents, but it's not raising your tax rate.
Yep. And that's an important
education
piece, right?
You don't do that in a press release to the newspaper 20 miles north of here, because we don't have print here anymore. That's what's hard about
The property
selling.
tax system has long been confusing.
Yeah.
And that's just one variable. The other variable, and you may have read an article today about the valuations in Lynn County that jumped up dramatically. I don't think we've seen that here, at least on folks I've talked to. This coming property tax bill, we haven't seen it. Not to say it wouldn't come down the road, but if your valuation has gone up any, so will your taxes, most likely.
When those questions come, Brent, I think it'll be important to let folks know how the rollback is affected, and if you want to crawl into the weeds with them on that. I don't get a lot of those questions. My neighbor used to question me on this stuff in the first few years, but then I started explaining stuff to him, and either his eyes crossed, and he was like, I don't care, or he understood it. So they care about what they're paying more than what that rate is out there.
How it gets there.
Yep.
Well, if this group's comfortable with it, we really don't need any action tonight. The action would be scheduled at the next meeting. We wanted to jump out ahead of it so that, because there is a timeline we have to meet. And so if folks are comfortable with it, we'll publish it and bring it back for approval at the next meeting.
So does each department already have for example, communications at $3,500? They already know where that's coming from, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Be kind of mean of me to tell
Pardon?
them. It'd be kind of mean of me to tell them after the fact.
Break the news to him tomorrow.
But yes, they were, and again, that's what I really enjoy about working with this team, is everyone jumped on board and looked, even if it was only $3,500, they did what they could find without compromising the programming and services that they're offering.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, guys. Item 13 is our Northside Community Park project. And Ryan, I couldn't restart this meeting without you being here, so because 12 and 13, I think 14 require your attendance right now, so take it over.
Oh, actually, Grant's going to talk
Oh,
about
is he
13.
really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Grant.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Ready.
I'm ready.
Almost all the time when we have a property acquisition that involves or could involve eminent domain, it's for roads, right? Most of our stuff is for utilities or roads, and most of the resolutions you see for authorizing eminent domain in the past have dealt with a particular code section dealing with roads. When we're dealing with acquiring land for a park, or down the road acquiring land for a fire station, there's another couple sets of hoops that we have to jump through. This resolution is one, and one of those hoops is mailing the resolution actually authorizing the use of eminent domain to the property owner 2 weeks before the meeting that we have it. So we had to mail this resolution 2 weeks ago. You guys will need to vote yes on it if we're going to be able to move forward with the use of eminent domain for a project not involving a road or utility, such as the Northside Community Park. So if you want to buy a park, recommend approval.
All right, I think I might have jumped ahead a little bit. There's actually an item for public hearing on this. I don't think anybody is in the audience for comments in regards to this, but there is a public hearing opening, and no show. I will close the public hearing. Item 13B then is the resolution 2023-24, and this is a resolution authorizing condemnation of portions of certain real properties for the Northside Community Park project. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do you guys have any questions for Grant?
No questions, Mayor, but I would just comment for the community that this isn't something eminent domain that we take lightly, and there's been a lot of work and reach outs and communications, and it has not progressed at all due to the dynamic of the owners, and so it's been lack of movement, lack of communication on their part that I feel that's moved the council to have to be in this position.
Well said. Anything else? Tracy, can we have a roll call, please?
Wason,
Aye.
Harrington. Aye. Bermal.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 14 is Solomon's Entertainment District, and item A is resolution number 2023-26, a resolution approving the developer's agreement for Solomon's Entertainment District, a re-subdivision of lots 19, 20, 21, and outlot E of Solomon's Landing, Part 1, North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do we have any questions, comments about this? There's a brief one in the council questions, but... All right. Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Harrington. Aye. Sittig.
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B then is resolution number 2023-27, a resolution approving the preliminary plat for Solomon's Entertainment District, North Liberty, Iowa. Again, could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All right, Tracy, roll call, please.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Motion carries. And item C is resolution number 2023-28, a resolution approving the final plat for Solomon's Entertainment District, North Liberty, Iowa. Motion for consideration, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All right, Tracy, please.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Motion's carry. Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks, Brandon.
Item 15 is Hope Presbyterian Church Stormwater Management Facility Maintenance Agreement, and item A is resolution number 2023-29, a resolution approving the Stormwater Management Facilities Maintenance Agreement and easement between the City of North Liberty and Hope Presbyterian Church that establishes the terms and conditions under which stormwater management facilities will be maintained for Hope Presbyterian Church in the City of North Liberty, Iowa. Have a motion for consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Question?
Yeah, I do have a couple here. So, Kevin, does this help in any way with the drainage issue towards Penn Meadows? And because we looked at buying the property adjacent, that didn't pan out, and we talked about the sidewalk and the drainage and the pooling and all of those things. I know we've done some, or we will, excuse me, we will do some work when the paving occurs, correct? To help address some of that, but does this do anything? Does it tie in? Does it help?
No.
It
No, it
does not.
doesn't. This doesn't flow at all to the park, and it'll help the end result will be an improvement in drainage and peak runoff and better for the environment and cleaner water, but not directly related to Penn Meadows.
Okay, so it's not, none of that runoff goes through that direction?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Any other questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 16 is our Ranshaw Way paved shoulders project, and item A is public hearing regarding proposed plans, specifications, and estimate of cost for the Ranshaw Way paved shoulders project. A member of our public is escaping right now. I will close the public hearing. Item B is resolution number 2023-30, a resolution finally approving and confirming plans, specifications, and estimate of cost for the Ranshaw Way paved shoulders project. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. You guys have any questions on this one? All right, Tracy, roll call, please.
Sittig,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 17 is our 2023 bond issuance, and item A is resolution number 2023-31, a resolution setting the date for a public hearing on proposal to enter into a general obligation loan agreement and to borrow money thereunder. I'm going to open this up for consideration first.
I'll move it, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
Sorry, I was confusing. Ryan, do you want to add anything to this?
I would just give you a quick synopsis of what we're doing here. As you all know, we borrow money once a year for projects that we've already completed or are nearing completion. We're a little unique here in that we generally borrow after a project is completed. We can do that because of our solid cash reserves. It also saves us any interest holding costs and keeps us out of, I'm going to mispronounce this probably, but the realm of arbitrage. Is that how we say that?
Correct.
Thank you. And what that is when you borrow money and you sit on it and then you're getting an investment back on borrowed money above your interest rate as a local government or government, there's additional reporting. So that's another avenue that we don't have to worry about because of how we borrow. So this go around, we're at about 9.43 million. You'll see on my on the chart there that a couple of the projects have B and A next to them. This just means we're splitting up the borrowing. So, for example, Ranshaw Way Phase 5B, we've borrowed for half of this already. This is the second portion of it. So similar with these mainly street projects, and then we have City Hall thrown in there too, a small amount for City Hall. One of the things we try to do, that we really focus on doing every year, is staying below 10 million. Once we get above 10 million, we're no longer what they call bank qualified, so our interest rate goes up. And so staying below that $10 million threshold is important to us. So we might get right up there, nudge the line a little bit, depending on the year of projects, but we won't go over it.
Does that 10 million mark raise with interest over time? Do they raise that threshold, or it's
been 10
stayed
million
flat?
for as long as I can recall.
17 years I've been doing this. It's been that same amount.
And then last question, Mayor, will this practice be affected by the changes that Moody is requesting that we manage our money?
Well, we don't believe so. What you'll notice this year, like last year, I think we closed in September-ish. We're trying to close before the end of the fiscal year so that most of our negative project fund balances are recouped. Our message to Moody's was that we have projects going on throughout the year, so there's always going to be a balance, or a negative balance somewhere. And they were more concerned about how we were auditing the funds, accrual versus cash versus accrual. I think we were able to successfully talk them off the ledge here on this particular piece. They had their eyes in on that auditing piece.
Any other questions? Letting that sink in. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tracy, roll call, please.
Harrington.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B is resolution number 2023-32, a resolution approving the engagement letter between the City of North Liberty and Dorsey and Whitney LLP regarding bond counsel services for the general obligation corporate purpose bond sale series 2023A. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. See the letter in the packet. Any questions? All right, Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Motion carries. And item 18 is our housing rehabilitation project. Item A is resolution number 2023-33, a resolution approving the rehabilitation contract and associated documents between the owner, rehabilitation contractor, and the City of North Liberty. Motion for consideration, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. You guys have any questions about that? Just wrapping this up.
Just, what are they doing? Do we know? Or?
It's all exterior work,
Okay.
so it depends on house to house.
Any other questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B is resolution number 2023-34, a resolution approving the updated procurement policy required by the Community Development Block Grant Program. Could I have a motion for this resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions about that? Tracy, one more time, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 19 is our depository resolution, and this is resolution number 2023-35, a resolution designating Hills Bank and Trust Company, Midwest One, Green State Credit Union, First Interstate Bank, Collins Community Credit Union, Two Rivers Bank and Trust, and U.S. Bank as depositories for public funds belonging to the City of North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion first for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ryan, would you mind just explain this verbally? The
Sure.
great message in the packet.
Two-part explanation. One, a depository resolution is needed for the council to identify what banks we're using and how much, up to a maximum of how much we can have in there. And so oftentimes, you look at Midwest One, or I beg your pardon, Hills Bank, we're asking for 25 million. Well, we know in June, we will have 10 million coming into that bank on top of our other funds. So at all times, we have to make sure that we're below that 25 million or whatever the number is. In this particular case, we're asking for an increase because we did a RFP for CDs, given the fact that banks are paying a little bit more, and we were pleasantly surprised with the rates that we received. You saw 5.5 for an 18, 5.25, I think, for 12. And Hills Bank was the winner. And so we're going to move, it's going to be $5 million in new money at Hills Bank, and then 2.5 of existing over there that we'll put in these CDs and will help the general fund next fiscal year.
You guys have any questions for Ryan?
I was counting and placing in my mind. I assume that's an all-inclusive list of in-town.
Yeah.
I think it's all of them, but I'm just
so.
asking that question. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Tracy, roll call, please.
Sittig.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Parmel.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 20 is our animal ordinance amendment, and this is our third consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2023-04 and ordinance amending chapters 55, 56, and 57 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Liberty, Iowa concerning procedures for impoundment and redemption of impounded animals, compliance requirements for dangerous dogs, and licensure of service animals. Who would like to move this one?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Eric.
Second.
Thanks, Brian. Anything else on this? Tracy, let's adopt this.
Smith.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Parmel.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anybody have anything for old business? All right, new business. Sorry to add two things to it real quick. To recap what Ryan said earlier and the discussion around the budget, we will be having a kind of a rather candid conversation about the stormwater fund coming up yet this spring. So on the other side of this legislature's adjournment, probably in April or May, we'll also break down those tax rates and help understand where those things go. And if you had it on the agenda for April 11th, that we would see the school district to have that conversation about the local option sales tax, we're also going to defer that until the legislature has adjourned, because we really don't know what we can do or what revenue streams we have. So I don't know if you'll get those questions or not, but we are going to defer that as well. That's what other communities across the state, that's what Iowa City and Coralville will also be doing, because we don't know anything yet. All right, anything else? Yeah, Brian, sorry.
Two things. Muddy Creek cleanup will be April 8th, 9 o'clock. So hopefully it'll be interesting. They cut down a bunch of the scrub trees.
Hopefully it doesn't rain this year.
Well, I've been there in the rain. It's okay. So,
Rains every
and then I think on the news today, the new fire department full-time staff is starting. So, so I think that just people should know that we've really been trying to work on this for years, and the chief has done a good job, kind of incrementally bringing up the amount of firefighters we have available and stuff. So that's a good thing for the city.
Regarding cleanup, did the ball fields get cleaned up on Saturday? They couldn't have because of the snow. Did anybody attend? Has it been rescheduled?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Assumed so. All right. Hey, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?